Welcome to Disturbing the Peace. I'm your host, John Amanchukwu, coming to you live from YRefi Studios. What happens when the institutions created to protect fairness begin rewarding ideology instead? Today, Auron MacIntyre joins me to expose the growing battle over women's sports, free speech, and the capture of America's institutions. Then, legendary Halo composer and congressional candidate Marty O'Donnell weighs in on the controversy surrounding government-run grocery stores, the voter ID double standard, and why he traded the recording studio for the campaign trail. This is a conversation about truth, accountability, and the fight to preserve common sense. All here today on Disturbing the Peace.
From heaven, there's too much at stake to be quiet. Let's disturb the peace. Me and you, let's disturb the peace. With John Amanchukwu, disturb the peace.
And now on Disturbing the Peace, I want to bring on my guest, Auron MacIntyre. Auron, welcome back to Disturbing the Peace.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. Hey, I want to have this conversation with you about the WNBA. Now, I know you watch that all of the time. You have it on replay. You DVR it. Heck, man, you may even have season tickets. Who knows, Auron, right? Who knows? But despite the humor, isn't it sad to hear things like people in the WNBA now want to allow men to play in the WNBA? Now, let's be honest here. Most of the women look like men in the first place. They do. But now they want true, real, biological males to play in the WNBA. The WNBA is at war with itself. A player said she doesn't think biological males should compete in women's sports, and the league turned on her. Take a look at what's happening right here. Watch.
Well, we see Cheryl Reeve wearing a shirt today in support of trans kids. Trans kids belong on the shirt. Just in the aftermath of Sophie Cunningham's recent comments, we actually saw Cheryl and Sophie speaking at center court pregame. And yesterday, Cheryl Reeve spent a lot of time talking at length with the media about this topic.
I would encourage anyone to go and listen to Cheryl Reeve's comments. Incredibly thoughtful, easy to find online. And
all right, hold it right there. Trans kids are welcome, whatever. I mean, this is insane. It's insane. For a long time, the WNBA has fought to make sure that they could have, prime time events, garner more funding and support. But now they want to trans the NBA. Auron, what are your thoughts?
First, it's still kind of amazing that the WNBA has any kind of relevance. It feels like the only reason it exists is to generate stories exactly like this. It's basically a welfare sport anyway, with the amount of attention it receives outside of these controversies. That said, of course, it's insane that they would want to put men in this sport at all, that they would somehow follow this delusion that will ultimately destroy their own league. Its very definition only exists because you had this idea that men and women should have separate leagues. If women could compete in the NBA, they would, but they can't because it turns out men and women are different. So the only reason for this thing to exist is literally because there's a biological difference between men and women, and they're looking to erase that by allowing men into the league. That said, I really believe ultimately the whole reason for us to fight against having men in women's sports is to protect young girls who do not have another option, who deserve to have their own spaces, a safe place for them to enjoy the sport, to show off their skills. That's the reason to fight for this. That's not who these people are. These people are professional athletes basically living on welfare. And ultimately, if they want to destroy their otherwise irrelevant league by basically just eliminating its own reason for existence, at this point, I'm kind of saying, let them do it. Man, I'm still not going to pretend that men are women, but if they want to blow this thing up, that should ultimately not exist anyway. I'm not going to cry. I worry about a woman in high school, a young girl in high school who has to compete against a man. A grown woman who's voluntarily choosing to let men into this league to destroy its existence. I mean, whatever, man. Ultimately, let them blow themselves up if they need to.
Hey, I agree with that. You know, Sophie Cunningham said she doesn't think biological males belong in women's sports. That's fair. She wasn't hateful. She didn't use derogatory terms or anything like that, and she could have, but she didn't. She was graceful. She was not inflammatory, and the league turned on her. Her coaches, her podcast co-host, and ESPN. What does that reaction tell us about who actually controls the WNBA?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a real tragedy that our sports leagues have become so woke. I can barely even watch football like I used to anymore because of how anti-American and woke many of the presentations are. So it's not surprising, I guess, that a league full of women ultimately end up being only more woke, because in many ways, wokeness is a feminization of spaces. And so a highly feminized space is only going to be more woke. Ultimately, it's very clear that the forces in the WNBA care far more about their signaling of political positions than they do creating an entertaining experience or giving women an area to compete. And if they've made that prioritization, again, it is a business. So if they want to destroy themselves like many corporations who decide to embrace wokeness, well, again, that's unfortunate. It's sad to see this type of, deterioration of our social fabric when it comes to something that should be enjoyable like sports. But ultimately, again, this is not your high school basketball team. These are professional athletes making a lot of money to play a game. And if they want to make a decision that centers destructive politics, then really, I think they should just get what they deserve in this one.
Hey, I agree with that wholeheartedly. We're talking about Sophie Cunningham and how she's being attacked by the WNBA for just having common sense. We'll pick this up after this break. Folks, let's face it. If you have distressed or defaulted private student loans, nobody is coming to bail you out. And bankruptcy is not an option, but you can take charge of your situation by contacting YRefi. Can you imagine being debt-free and not living under this burden anymore? The first step is contacting YRefi. If you go to YRefi.com, you can read testimonials from other people who have been where you are and how they've escaped. You can even see what their monthly payments were versus what they are now. YRefi offers a 3-minute rate check without any credit impact. Bad credit is accepted. Just call 888-YRefi-85 or log on to YRefi.com. That's YREFY.com. All right, so we're back talking about Sophie Cunningham. I want to ask you this, Auron. Cheryl Reeve wore a Trans Kids Belong shirt on the sideline. Natalie Nakasi compared being transgender to being criticized for your height or your ethnicity. ESPN praised both of them. I want to show you this video clip, then I want to come back to you with a reaction. Watch.
I know you don't have the fever again in the regular season, but coming out of the break, one of the big news stories has been Sophie Cunningham and the protests for her and protests against her. And, they had a national televised game today and Cheryl, wore a shirt, and it's just a conversation. I'm wondering just, what do you think about it? Do you think that's good for the league? Does it detract from the basketball? Is it just noise? I'm just wondering what your opinion is.
I think, thank you for that question. I think just in terms of how I'm seeing it is, if I could answer with, for me, sports is about belonging. It's about inclusivity. It's about allowing everyone to be their authentic self. I'm big on that just because I have been criticized for my height, for my ethnicity. I've been in those "you shouldn't belong here" many times. And for me, I don't want that space, especially Golden State, to ever feel like that. So I'm all about women, little girls deserving to play, and that includes trans women. So I'm all about inclusivity.
And that includes men competing against women. I mean, that's bad, man. Auron, what do you think?
The idea that sports is about inclusivity is literally an inversion of the nature of sports. Sports is about exclusivity. It is about excellence. It is about hierarchy. The thing we love about sports is that it's about who can be the best and do the best, and they will leave everyone else in the dust, and they deserve to be praised because of their excellence, their ability to exclude others in these categories. So that statement is, of course, absolutely ridiculous. And ultimately, we have to remember when we're talking about trans ideology, this isn't a difference of some marginal tax rate or something. When we talk about trans kids, what we're talking about is child abuse. We're talking about feeding psychological and often physical abuse to children. Mm-hmm. And not only does that destroy them as a person, we see that the rates of violence, school shootings, even the assassination of a man like Charlie Kirk, that comes from trans people or people who are deranged by trans ideology. This is a dangerous, dangerous idea. It doesn't just harm the kids. It's already child abuse, but it also drives them towards violence, often anti-Christian violence explicitly, like we saw in that school in Nashville. And so this is not something to be joked about. This is not something that we can have a fun little banter between political rivals about. This is ultimately something that destroys the lives of children and drives them to violent ends. And we should not be pretending like this is some cute little weird thing that woke people do. This is dangerous.
Yeah, when you consider what happened in Nashville with Audrey Hale, there is a comparison to all of this. It does lead towards destruction. Her memos and notes, they didn't want to fully release those details from the school shooting in Nashville. There's so much information that we still don't know that is being covered up. And it's a travesty. It shouldn't happen. Title IX was written to protect women in sports from being displaced by men. What happened to it? And why are the people who built careers defending women's sports now the ones dismantling it?
Well, this is really the nature of the Civil Rights Act, unfortunately. It was made with good intentions, but pretty much all over the place, it is run roughshod across any kind of equality, any kind of fairness in the United States. When you look at rulings like the one against Sheetz gas station by the Biden administration, where they said that because they were not hiring enough minorities because they were more likely to turn up as criminals in background checks, they were violating the Civil Rights Act. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, they had to pay a massive fine for running criminal background checks. The same thing is happening here in women's sports. Title IX might have been originally created to carve out a space for women, protect a space for women. But what the left does with all of this power that is given to the government, this blank check that we call the Civil Rights Act, ultimately all that is used for is to distort and destroy basic American values and understanding of our society. So whether it's women in sports or the exclusion of Asian and white people when it comes to getting into Harvard, we see the Civil Rights Act is used as a weapon, exactly the opposite of what it was intended to do, which is to rectify a historical wrong and bring a sense of fairness to the American experience.
So you believe that the Civil Rights Act has been hijacked?
Yes, I think the author Christopher Caldwell in his book, The Age of Entitlement, made a fantastic argument that, again, while the Civil Rights Act started with the best of intentions, it has become the de facto second constitution of the United States. And the left has been able to use that to hijack our legal system in areas like women's sports to pervert it and create exactly the situation we're seeing now.
But the original intent of the Civil Rights Act was good. It was wholesome. It was pure. They were addressing some true areas of systemic racism, correct?
Yes, and I believe that when most people passed the Civil Rights Act, that's what they believed it was going to do. Mm-hmm. But we saw very quickly, for instance, in Griggs versus Duke Power, a ruling that came, I believe, just 7 years after the passage of the Civil Rights Act, the Supreme Court basically rewrote the Civil Rights Act, which had explicitly been passed saying we are not going to advantage minority groups, we are simply going to make them equal. And instead, they completely changed the intention of the law, and it has continued to grow in that direction ever since. So I understand people have an attachment to something like the Civil Rights Act, Title IX being a part of that. But ultimately, we need to understand that giving this kind of Soviet-level control of the government to intervene in any and every public and private organization to meet these criteria ultimately gave us what government power always gives us, which is an overreach of tyranny. We should have had a natural change to these laws over time. We should have had the moral understanding to change this in our society. But instead, we got a top-down dictate from the courts. And this has produced the situation we see now, where the Civil Rights Act is no longer performing the function that it was supposed to.
So you believe the woke mafia, the LGBTQIA plus, the critical theorists, the critical race theorists, the people who push DEI, the people who are pushing racial consciousness upon kids in the public school system. These are the villains. These are the individuals who have hijacked the Civil Rights Act and perverted its original intent.
Yeah, I can't imagine turning to a civil rights activist in the 1960s, a black civil rights activist, and saying, by the way, the solution to your problem will eventually eliminate girls' sports, will force men into women's sports, right? They would think you were insane.
Yes.
But that's exactly what has happened. And this is the danger. Yeah.
Hey, I agree with you 100% on that. Some modifications need to take place to keep this from happening because we're on a slippery slope. And they will use anything and everything. Look at the black and the brown stripe in the progress flag. You know, that's just to acknowledge that blacks and brown people have gone through the same struggles, I guess, as people who are a part of the LGBTQIA agenda. But we all know that I didn't choose to be black. You didn't choose your ethnicity. No one does, but to choose to play in female sports, that's a choice. To choose to be attracted to strange flesh and to go about your sexual prowess in an unnatural manner, that's a choice. You know, even the Lion Kingdom understands that, you know, some penetrate and some receive. You know what I mean? And if God made you a receiver, celebrate your ability to receive. And if God made you a penetrator, celebrate that as well. But we see today where people have found new ways to communicate to God their disdain for his order and design. Let me say this. I have to say it. I do think that the ratings for the WNBA could be modified if more of the women looked feminine. If they just tapped into their daintiness, you know, it's just something about a lady being a lady. I mean, don't run up the court like a dude. Hey, I'm up the court. I mean, I can't run like a lady. I can't imitate a woman well. I can't do it at all. You know, I can't do it. But just it's something, I don't know, Auron, it's something sexy about a woman being a woman. A lady being elegant and dainty and it's so glorious. Let me tell you something. Femininity controls a man, but masculinity enrages a man. If you want to put a man at ease, rub his bald head, or maybe he has good hair like you. I don't know, Auron. Rub his back. Talk to him in a manner that a man can't. But when these dude chicks, you know, want to now dominate basketball, and now they want to bring in men who have the plumbing of a man, this isn't going to go well for them. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think anyone needs to convince men to watch women's volleyball or women's track and field, right? That's something that men will very happily enjoy women's sports about, right?
Yes.
So I think that the evidence is right before us, right? There's no need to incentivize the enjoyment of the sports for men for exactly the reason you're discussing. And so, yeah, I think it's very obvious the reason that you're just not seeing the same level of interest. Ultimately, we know that men are simply more athletic than women in the vast majority of categories. So, of course, their performances in sports are going to be superior. So given a straight one-to-one comparison, who's going to watch which sport? People are going to choose men's sports over women's sports on raw excellence alone. So what then is the incentive of watching women's sport? Well, as you said, there is certainly one if you're watching the right sport when women are presenting themselves in the correct way. And through that, people can also enjoy the excellence of the competition. But when you're completely ignoring that aspect and you're lying to yourself about biological reality, both in the nature of men and women's appearance and also just what a woman is at all, then ultimately people are going to reject what you're selling.
Hey, I agree with that. You know, athletes are afraid to speak up and to speak out. Sophie Cunningham's own podcast co-host turned on her publicly. Caitlin Clark won't touch it. You know, what does it cost a woman in professional sports to say what the majority of Americans actually believe?
You know, it's kind of wild because you would think in that sport, there would be some embrace of that reality. Ultimately, most Americans who watch sports tend to be at least leaning conservative. They tend to prefer more that traditional understanding. And so you would think if you were a performer in that sport, you would ultimately want to lean into that to encourage your audience. This isn't Hollywood, right? This is not a town that should be surrounded by wild leftists inherently. There's no excuse as to why this culture should dominate. But I mean, let's be honest. The founding of the league is woke. The premise of the league is woke. It's woke to its core from the beginning. So even though this is completely destructive of the point of the league in the first place, they simply have nowhere else to go. And even though this culture in no way would appeal to the theoretical audience who would watch women's sports in this scenario, they have to push that agenda because it really defines the league at its core.
Hey, if you were going to be a man and play in women's sports, what position would you want to play in basketball? Would you want to be a point guard or a center?
I don't think anyone wants to see me in a dress, so we don't have to worry about that one. Yeah, I'm a horrific basketball player, but you know, at the end of the day, I think we're better off, you know, putting some women on the court who, you know, as you say, might present themselves in a way that more people would enjoy watching.
Yes, I agree. Hey, the masculine alpha male aspect of me, pre-Christ, you know, before I got saved, before I got married, man, put me in the paint. I'm a center. Back me down, and I'll thank you for doing so. But beside all of the humor, let me show you this video clip because, hey, let me ask you this also before we show this clip. If you had to be elbowed, who would you rather be elbowed by? A man or a woman?
Yeah, I guess I'll take the blow from the woman in this case. I don't know.
Exactly. Me too. The blow from the woman is not going to be as, you know, damaging to my eye socket than a blow from a man. Take a look at this right here where Sophie Cunningham gets elbowed and she gets a foul because she got elbowed. I mean, this is insane. They're targeting her. It's a plan, but this could have been much worse if it was a dude dropping the smackdown and dropping the elbow. Take a look at this.
How about our WNBA refs? This is just a defensive foul. Thank you for the review. Just a defensive foul. No hostile act. Just a foul on Sophie Cunningham. They call that
boom
foul on Sophie Cunningham.
All right, hold it right there. I mean, that's a clear bow to her face. I mean, it's insane. Look at the one lady that's sitting on the bench there. Her mouth is like, you know, it's just, but imagine a dude with testosterone of 600, 800, 1,000, 1,500 swinging an elbow. Imagine if that was LeBron James or Shaquille O'Neal. Let's go back a little bit. Hakeem Olajuwon. Heck, even Larry Bird swinging the elbow over. Bam! Right to your kisser, man. That's not going to feel well. But they want to set this up where dudes can abuse women in athletics. This isn't good. Watch.
She's got 14 of her teeth on the ground.
14 of her teeth on the ground.
That's a defensive foul.
Look at this.
And they reviewed it for a hostile act. Yeah, Sophie's saying, hey, I just got my jaw broke. Is this a political stance? You just took 14 of my teeth. Yeah, quiet, Sophie, no big deal. A defensive foul. Let's watch this one more time. This is on Sophie?
Watch.
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Elbow to the jaw to 14 teeth gone. That's offensive, brah.
Hold it right there.
Yeah, so.
You see, I mean, yeah, I mean, Sophie Cunningham she's beautiful. She's attractive. You know, people may not agree with her politics, but who cares? Angel Reese, you may not agree with everything that comes out of her mouth, but she's attractive. You know, she's a pretty lady. She's made a lot of money because of her aesthetics, and the same thing with Sophie Cunningham. But when you look at this, the one that's in the camera shot here, you know, that's on the bench, I mean, she's that's the imagery right there, Auron, that we're talking about. You know, just the whole just masculine persona that, you know, kind of, you know, ruffles the feather, not kind of, it actually does, ruffles the feathers of a man. A man desires femininity, something soft, something tender, soft eyes, no frowns, no mean mug, no grimace, no thuggery in the face, no look, no, just nice and sweet. It's wonderful. It makes you shut up. You know what I mean? If you want to control a man, just give him full on femininity. Drown him in femininity, and he'll do what you want him to do. He'll get on his knee and propose. Heck, man, he'll get on his knee and propose to you and swear that he will love you in sickness and in health and good times and in bad times, for rich and for poor. It'll make him say, you know what, take my last name. But all of this masculinity that we see, not only in sports, but we see it in other arenas, coming from women, man, it's not good. Auron, what do you think here, man?
I think ultimately it is wild to watch the amount of abuse, as you say, that is piled on people for disagreeing in this manner. And I think you're right that there is probably also some, you know, gender competition subtext there with the pretty woman, you know, getting beaten up, getting shown, you know, that she needs to, you know, I guess, you know, get in line, you know her place in the league. But ultimately, I think a lot of this also comes from just a lack of familiarity with violence. People watch Marvel movies. That's where they understand combat from. That's where they understand conflict from. But anybody who has actually experienced violence knows the vast difference between men and women, the incredible difference in strength that men have over women. And when you put them in a physical environment where they're competing, obviously, even if there was no malicious intent, which we clearly saw in that video that there was, even if there is no malicious intent, as you say, the difference in strength is going to mean serious damage to a woman in a scenario like that. This is one of those decadent situations that you can only really reach when your country has completely ignored reality. And I think for so long, Americans have been detached from the reality of violence that you can have this luxury belief that men and women are equal when the truth is very obvious that they are not.
So true. Auron, it's always a joy to have you on Disturbing the Peace. I need to get you back on again soon. Thank you so much for joining me. How can people follow you and support you?
Oh, great. Yes, thank you again. I have the Auron MacIntyre Show. That's on Blaze TV. It's also on YouTube, Rumble, your favorite podcast platforms. I have my book, The Total State, which is on Amazon, and you can follow me on Twitter at Auron MacIntyre.
You got it. Follow this man. He knows what he's talking about. Take care. Hey! It's not over. It's not over. My good friend Marty O'Donnell is coming on the show. The legendary composer behind one of the most iconic video game soundtracks in history, Halo, and the key creative force behind Destiny. He is now the Republican candidate for Nevada's 3rd Congressional District, running on border security, election integrity, and limited government. Marty O'Donnell coming to the stage.
Yay.
How are you doing, my man?
Thanks for having me, John. Reverend John. That's great to be on your show again.
Hey, I feel the same way. That microphone sounds beefy. I like it, man.
Does it? Okay, good.
I like it.
It needs to be beefy.
It sounds great. I need to make mine more beefy. Come on, man. I got big guns over here, and my microphone doesn't sound as beefy as yours, man. What's going on?
I don't know what it sounds like to you, but you sound fine to me. It sounds great.
All right, but it doesn't sound beefy, though. There's a difference. I know beefy when I hear beefy. I know Angus. I know Angus when I hear Angus beef. But here,
there you go.
But here it is, my friend. Sure. You just heard a little bit of our conversation talking about the WNBA and what's going on. Let me show you this video clip here. This is of Sophie Cunningham explaining her position on who should play in what sports and why she has the viewpoints that she does. Take a look at this.
Yep. On that same vein, in that story with ESPN, you talked about wanting to protect young girls who shouldn't have to go against biological men. Just can you expand your viewpoint on that?
I mean, I think I said what I said. I think it's kind of common sense. And I think I'll always believe in that. I think it's really important to protect children. And that's little girls who are also involved in that category. And so I stand on what I said, and I always believe that.
Yeah. Do you see your advocacy on that, like, taking any form going forward?
You know, I don't know. I'm not a very political person, but I do have beliefs. I have morals, and I'll always stand on those and be true to who I am. And I think people are going to take it how they want to take it, but I've never even really said anything about that. And so when it comes just to protecting young girls in sport and women in sport, I feel very strongly about that. I think that's why you have Title IX. That's why you have some of the greats in women's sports. If Title IX and women's sports weren't protected, then you wouldn't hear about any type of women in sport. And so I think in the future, it's just really important to protect.
Do you think, I guess, along the line like that, it goes against perhaps some people might say, hey, for the trans community, this could be something that could come back on us or be targeted against us. Like, how do you, I guess, view that sort of critique?
You know, like I said, I extend love, and I don't dislike anyone. Like, I think there's room for absolutely everyone here, and I think there's room to love everyone. And I truly think when you get people in the same room and you have conversations, you actually have a lot in common with a lot of people. And so I'm there to love, but I'm also there to love biological women, and I think that there are rights that need to be protected. And like I said, I'm going to stand true to that. I'll never falter in my beliefs in that, but I have never once said I hated the trans community. Like I said, I think there's space for everyone.
Sophie, what about Connecticut today? Tell us a little bit about the game. What are you thinking about Keys or Garden Brittany? You know her so well.
Yeah, you know, I think it has been so fun. I played with BG for 6 years, and so I know her like the back of my hand. And
so this is a clip here. Marty, I know that you can pretty much talk about anything and everything. I learned that the last time that I brought you on the show, so I don't have to keep you in a box, you know. But help me here, man. Weigh in on this whole conversation of what's taking place right now in the WNBA. Do you like your ladies? Are you more attracted to the masculine female or the feminine female? Help me out here, man. What is going on in the WNBA?
Listen, there's room for all sorts of personality types, right? Okay, so women are women, men are men. That's as simple as it is. It goes back, you know, truth comes from God. Truth does not come from the mind of man. Our founding fathers knew this. We hold these truths to be self-evident, endowed by our Creator. So truth comes from God. And God himself said, you will know the truth and the truth will set you free. This is where truth is. So, okay, you know, we are made in the image of God, male and female created he them. So our biblical foundations are sacred and they are foundational. This is what we build our entire society and life based on those truths. So, okay, so there are some women who are a little bit more on the masculine side and men who are a little more on the feminine side. Fine. They're still women and they're still men. That's it. That's what that is. So I feel so bad for Sophie because she's having to defend something as though she's advocating for something strange. She's advocating not for anything other than, hey, I think if it's called the WNBA, then there should just be women in this league. That's all she's saying. And she's stating the obvious, right? So it's when she says it's common sense, that's because the other side has decided, you know, confusion reigns over there. We know who the author of Confusion is, but it's nonsense. It's nonsense to say that men who think they are women or pretend to be women or dress up as women should be playing in women's sports. That's just nonsense. So all she's stating is common sense. So I got to say, I don't know how you feel about this, but I kind of thought like a year ago this went away. I thought we were, well, that conversation is going away finally, right? Like we don't have to keep litigating men and women's sports and boys and girls sports in grade school and junior high and high school. I thought that was done. I'm shocked to see it come back.
Yeah, it's now attacking professional sports. And that's where we have to wage the war now, because it's been settled by the Supreme Court. But now we see this new battle unearthing, or the scab being pulled off again. And I strongly feel that the expectation should be that if you are a man, then you should do what testosterone does. You should be masculine, and you shouldn't try to betray the DNA and the construct that God has made you in. You know, you shouldn't be out there in a position where you could potentially be competing against women in sports, because physically we know that the woman, not psychologically, not mentally, not because of wisdom and anything like that, but physically, the Bible says that the woman is a weaker vessel, just physically. All right. We all know that many women are smarter than men. That is true. There are probably some studies out there that can prove that as well, you know, because testosterone can make you do some dumb things. It makes you, it makes you run into buildings that are on fire. You know, it makes you want to pour concrete in the middle of the ocean. It makes you do some crazy things. But what we're seeing right now in this whole battle with the WNBA, it's a new attack on this whole conversation. The Supreme Court ruling has been passed. Now these dude chicks and coaches want to now find a way to do a workaround to get into the hearts and the minds of impressionable youth. This is really what I think. And since they can't push it in K through 12 now. Since they can't push it in college now, let's push it even further in professional sports. Because at the end of the day, a young girl is watching the WNBA saying, one day I want to compete in that sport and play there. And if my favorite WNBA star is open to this, then I should be as well. What do you think?
I really don't know why this is being pushed. It's another one of those. This is not an 80-20 issue. This is like a 95-5 issue, if that. You'll hear these people talk about how what a small population there is for people who are trans adults, right? Mm-hmm. So it's sort of like, why make a big deal out of it? It's like, nobody's making a big deal out of it. It just isn't fair. Even Gavin Newsom said that it wouldn't be fair to have biologically male people born male competing in women's sports. Mm-hmm. And I think we settled this with Title IX years ago. It should be handled by Title IX. We don't need new legislation trying to deal with this. We don't need advocates. It's just like, let's just stop making this a thing. But I don't know why coaches in the WNBA would be advocating, and like I forget who the woman was. There was some woman who said, she wants to see, sports are participatory, and all girls should participate, even trans girls. And so it's like it just doesn't make sense. Just because you put the prefix trans in front of something, it doesn't change the reality. It just doesn't change reality. For that woman and the coach in, I guess it was Seattle, having the T-shirt saying "trans kids belong" or something. Yeah, it's like we shouldn't even be using the term trans kids. Kids are too young. Too young. And the idea that they have decided that this is a lifelong, from the moment you're born, somehow you're born in the wrong body, your gender is in the wrong body. It's like it's so destructive, and to keep pushing that, I don't know what their goal is other than just generalized confusion and a tearing down of of Western society, you name it, every society, every culture you can find, this is just not a thing. This is not a thing. It's like we didn't, a few hundred years ago, we didn't know about testosterone. We didn't know about DNA. We didn't know about X chromosomes and Y chromosomes. Those are just things we've discovered that confirm something we already knew. This is not anything new for humankind. Human beings are binary. There's male and female, and that is across the board. And to confuse that makes no sense to me. I don't know what their goal is. I really don't, other than some sort of dismantling of society.
And I think you just hit the nail on the head. They want to dismantle society. Romans chapter 1 speaks of it this way. Paul calls it haters of God and inventors of evil things. That's what we're contending with. I now want to transition to the topic that I told you that we would discuss, which is on the New York City mayor, Auron Mamdani. Okay.
Are you mispronouncing that by somehow? I'm not sure.
Mamdani. That's the right way. That's how we say it in the South. I don't know how you say it where you're from in Nevada, either, neither, neither. Mamdani, Democratic Socialists announced plans for 5 city-owned grocery stores offering a core basket of everyday groceries at 30% below retail prices. The city would own the stores while private operators manage day-to-day operations. When asked how the city would prevent people from gaming the discount system, Mamdani, New York City Economic Development Corporation head Jeannie Pack revealed, "We," and I quote, "are looking to make sure that we target New Yorkers, whether it be a sort of library card-esque thing, and also esque. Yeah, you got to put the esque in there, my friend. Without the esque, it doesn't make sense. Esque. Yeah, library card-esque thing, and also we manage who's buying." I mean, let me show you this video clip here, and I have to get your take on this. And listen, man, swing for the fences, okay? Don't you don't have to be soft on it. Swing for the fence. Watch.
You got it.
How are you going to keep people from taking advantage of that, that deal, basically? And is there going to be a limit on the number of items that someone can take that are discounted at that level from that essential basket?
Why do they have to put a black lady right behind him? This is all intentional.
Performative.
This is performative. I mean, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. It's like, sis, you eat enough. You have enough food. Foxes have holes, birds have nests. The Son of Man had nowhere to lay his head. You have a house, you have a place to live, and you're eating well. God has blessed you in the city and in the field, but why do you have to stand behind this moron? This man who's pushing Islamist beliefs, which at the end of the day, if the woman behind him was Muslim, she wouldn't be standing there in the first place. She would have her head covered, maybe all the way up to her eyes. And if he told her to go into the room and stay in the house and don't come out, she better not come out. But you're going to stand behind this guy knowing that he's pushing insanity. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. If this is your aunt, if this is your cousin, if this is your sister, someone please contact this lady and say, "Hey man, I got a new job for you." Don't let this person who wants to destroy and eliminate the infidel, that lady behind him, don't allow her to use you as a prop. Watch.
That someone can take that are discounted at that level from that essential basket.
So our RFP makes very clear that this is a program for New Yorkers to be able to put food on the table, not a program for people to be able to make a quick buck through reselling. I'm going to pass it over to our EDC head, G-Pack, to add some additional details.
Yeah, Yes, if you look at our RFP for the operator, we are looking to make sure that we target New Yorkers, whether it be at sort of a library card-esque thing, and also we manage who's buying and that is focused on everyday New Yorkers. So we are mindful of that. And so we're going to make sure that we have all the things in place to ensure that that does not happen.
All right, so you need an ID to get your beanie weenies, I guess, right? Trump responded and said, I wish they'd have an ID to access the voting booth. We want voter ID and we want proof of citizenship. Then Elon Musk came on and said, oh, the irony is too much. Marty, talk to me, man. What do you see here?
Well, I mean, it's such an obvious thing to say, but I mean, at this point, I guess my question would be, so apparently this grocery store is discriminating against, people of color and women, because those people, as we know, as they've been telling us over and over again, have such a hard time figuring out how to find identification for themselves. They can't participate in society because it's so hard. So, as like, okay, well, it's discriminatory, obviously, but no, not in this case. Apparently in this case, the people of color and the women in New York City are smarter than the rest of the country, and they know how to get ID, so they can come in and buy groceries at 30% off. And then how is it that when I buy my can of SpaghettiOs at 30% off, I can't sell it to a friend for 15% more and pocket the 50? It's still a discount to my friend.
That's right.
Who maybe doesn't have an ID, see, because they're too dumb to get the ID.
Exactly.
So I can sell my SpaghettiOs to my friend and I pocket the 15% difference. Like, how are they going to prevent that from happening? I mean, it is so silly. It is so unbelievably idiotic. And of course, it would come from the mind of someone who is pretending. I'm telling you, Mamdani, I'll say it the right way. I'll try. I have trouble saying it no matter what. He's a naturalized citizen from Uganda who apparently has this beautiful compound in Uganda. He has rich parents. I don't think he's actually done an actual day's work in his life, but he's not truly a Marxist. He's pretending to be a Marxist to get into power. He's an Islamist. So just like in 1979, the Marxist revolution in Iran ended up being taken over by the imams and the mullahs and the ayatollahs, who then killed the communists who started the revolution unless they converted to Islam. So Islam and Marxism do not mix at all. You said it already. That woman behind him, once he brings in Sharia law, those women are done.
Right.
Women are finished.
That's right.
And the Marxists are finished because Islam does not allow for any other government system other than the Sharia law Islamist system. So anyway, fine. Allow, if New York wants to allow this to happen for a while, it will fail. It will fail just drastically. And it would almost be comical if it wasn't affecting so many millions of people.
I agree with that, Marty. Which is worse? Which is worse? Marxism or the Islamist ideology?
I think they're both antithetical. They're both godless systems. They are both anti-freedom. There's absolutely no ability to have liberty. They're totalitarian at their core. And they will be, they only can be successful through the overwhelming use of force from on high. That's the only way those things, and they're not actually successful, but they only can be, truly implemented by at the point of a gun. So this is why, look at Iran, look at any of the Islamist run countries. They have to have totalitarian leadership and incredibly strong, internal enforcement in order to keep the people down. This is what I actually believe this strongly. There's the third section of the Constitution, which talks about how everybody in the United States who's going to be in government or any official position at all has to take an oath to the Constitution. Mamdani took an oath to the Constitution, which is to support and defend the Constitution. Now, the Constitution, what he is proposing is Marxism. And underneath that, he's going to bring in Islamist government. Both of those things are antithetical to our Constitution, to our founding creeds.
Yes.
And you can't when you take the oath, you say, without any mental reservation, I support and defend the Constitution, which means you're not lying. But he's lying. It's obvious that he's lying, which means he should be disqualified. He shouldn't even, I don't think Marxists or Islamists, I don't think they should even be allowed to participate in government.
Hey, Marty, no, wait, Marty. Marty.
Yes.
How dare you?
I know, that's me.
That's discrimination, Marty.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to love your neighbor as yourself, brother. Brother, come on, brother. What's going on here, Marty?
Well, it's called, the Democrats like to talk about, well, we have a big tent. It's like, well, no, you don't have a tent that allows, people who want to destroy the tent. You don't say, hey, our tent is open to everybody, including those who are saying publicly that they want to destroy the tent. Those people don't come into the tent. That's just the way it is. And the concept of a big tent is hilarious. I believe that the Republicans were Islamists and Marxists are not welcome in the Republican Party. And I also believe if there's an anti-Semite problem in the Republican Party, those people should be shunned and kicked out of the tent.
I agree. And racist.
And racist. And
racist.
So it's like those people who espouse things that are antithetical to our Constitution should not be part of our system.
Right. Hey, man.
That doesn't mean as a person, as a Christian, I don't show love to those people. It's it's the same as loving, the sinner and not the sin.
Yes.
But we still have to be able to call out sin.
Yeah, you still love the people, but if they want to blow you up, you pray that you get your gun and you blow them up first, right? I think that's pretty much how it works. Isn't that what you taught us on Halo? I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on, don't forget that part either.
Okay.
So government-run grocery stores.
Yeah.
This has been tried before. Okay, this isn't new. This isn't a new concept.
Yeah, let's ask Stalin about that.
Yeah, exactly. Venezuela tried it under Chavez. The Soviet Union tried it. It ended in shortages and bread lines. Why does the left keep proposing things that have catastrophic historical track records? And why do people keep voting for them?
People can be short-sighted, of course. If somebody says, you don't have to work, but I will give you food. Or you have to work and then you can earn food. Most people are like, well, I'd rather not work. I'd rather take the free food. But they don't see anything past the free part.
Yes.
They don't see how taking the free thing means you're actually taking it from somebody else who worked for it, who worked to create it, who worked to make it happen. And eventually the people who are producers of things will say, well, you keep taking the stuff I made and you're giving it away for free. I'm going to stop making this stuff. So it's a very straight line. It always goes down. The people who make things stop making things, and the people who have their mouths open like little baby birds, finally get filled up and have all the free stuff, and then everything goes away. So there's no more free stuff for the people who don't know how to work, and there's no more people who are working. That's just exactly what happens. And it's the short-sightedness of the people who are attracted by the prospect of free stuff. And that's how we get there. Yeah,
that's a dangerous place. If a man doesn't work, neither shall he eat. And if you can't take care of your family, you're worse than an infidel. Free stuff, it always costs someone. And
John, I really think that, and this is what I'm seeing, is that in my little corner of Nevada, it doesn't matter what the demographics are in terms of race or religion or Republican, Democrat, progressive, liberal, conservative. None of those things matter. The vast majority of people live what I would consider to be normal, conservative lives, which means they get up in the morning, they go to work, they provide for their family, they fall in love, they get married, they buy a house, they have kids, they want to make choices about their own lives and their own families and their own kids, and they want to be able to take a vacation. None of those other things matter. That's just the normal way of living. And now the crazies on the left literally are proposing all these nonsensical things. And what I'm hoping and praying is that the normals, the normies out there say, oh, wait a minute. I wasn't really paying attention, but yeah, now you're bugging me. You're trying to change my life. My day-to-day life is going to change to become this abnormal, weird thing. And I'm hoping that in these midterms that the normies wake up and come out and vote. And this will be the revenge of the normies. That's what I'm hoping for.
I love it. Sounds we need a sequel to that. Let's keep it going. And so you're running for office as a congressional candidate right now. How are things going on the campaign trail?
Well, they're going really well. I've got a commercial spot that's coming out tomorrow, and I think it'll be pretty fun to see that. President Trump is coming into my district tomorrow, and I'll be speaking with President Trump, and at a thing where President Trump speaks, our lieutenant governor and another congressional candidate for a different district who's Republican, Kerry, will be speaking. So it's pretty cool. And then I think on the 25th, Speaker Mike Johnson comes out and helps with some fundraising here. I think we're doing really well. Susie Lee is the congresswoman who is the incumbent Democrat, and she's just horrible. She's a horrible candidate. She's a horrible incumbent. She's a rubber stamp for the Democrat Party. She hasn't spoken out about any of these crazy things. She pretends like she's sort of a moderate, but she's not. And one of the other things that happened is she's one of those congresswomen, people in the House of Representatives that have used inside knowledge to literally buy and sell thousands of stocks and make millions of dollars. So it's time for her to go. It's time for a normal person to take her seat, and that's me.
What chances do you have at unseating her?
Well, they're good. Her negatives are really high. Once the people in the district get to know who I am, I think the people in the district are talking about that she needs to go. And as far as I can tell, I'm not we haven't done any like hardcore polling yet. That's all going to happen. Things really heat up starting about now and through September, October, obviously. So I feel really good about our chances. The hardcore demographic split between Republicans and Democrats. The Republicans' registrations in my district are going up. The Democrats are coming close. They're very close to 50-50. So I think we got a really good shot.
If you get to Congress, what is the first thing that you'll do? And what does limited government actually look like in practice in an era when the federal government is already so large?
I am a huge advocate for the family. I think the family is the foundation of our of everything that's good about our culture and our society. And I believe that it doesn't take a village to raise a child. It takes a family, and it takes families to make a village. So strong families make strong villages, and that's what we need. So family is the foundation, and we have to do everything we can to support families and the structure of families in our society. That, and then of course there are so many things that go along with that. It used to be that one good job is enough to start a family and buy a home and, take a vacation. And we need to get back to that. It used to be something. That's the way it was when I was growing up, and it can be that way again. And the government basically needs to get out of the way of allowing people and encouraging people to have those kind of lives. And the government is too big. It's too bloated. It spends too much. It taxes too much. It spends money on the wrong things. I mean, if we look at how important secure borders are, it's just common sense to know that we have to have secure borders in order to have safe communities so that people can live their normal lives and take care of their families.
Marty, thank you so much for joining Disturbing the Peace, my friend. How can people follow you and support you?
Yeah, martyforcongress.com is exactly where you need to go. It's pretty easy, just martyforcongress.com. And looking forward to seeing people sign up and communicate with me, tell me what they're thinking about. And if I can earn their support, it's even better. So that's the way that goes.
God bless you, my friend. I hope to see you on Capitol Hill someday.
I hope so too, John. We'll got to meet each other in person one of these days.
We'll do it. We'll have a blast.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Take care. The WNBA, the grocery store, by Mamdani. All right. The voting booth. All of it comes back to the same thing. Institutions that were built to serve the people being used against them. And this is not new. If you think that this is new, that this is just happening in the 21st century, you might be duped, my friend. Someone may have bamboozled and hoodwinked you. The prophet Isaiah said it thousands of years ago. Take a listen. Isaiah 5:20 says, "Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, and put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter." A coach wears a political shirt on the sideline and gets praised. A player says she believes in women's sports and gets condemned. And a mayor requires ID for groceries and calls voter ID racist. Isaiah named this spirit, it's a spirit, y'all, 3,000 years ago, calling evil good and good evil. It is not new, but it is spreading. And the only answer to it has always been the same. A people who are not afraid to say what is true, even when the institutions around them have decided that truth is the problem. Sophie Cunningham in this situation is not the problem. The coach is the problem. The WNBA is the problem. The problem in New York, it stems from Mamdani and these policies. 30% discounts at grocery stores. Go to voting booths, no ID. It's racist because brown and black people can't find a way to get to a place to get an ID. But when it comes to these, newly established Soviet Union-esque, to use the word esque today, grocery stores, they can get IDs for that. It's a travesty. It's a shame. The problem is not the truth. Truth is the solution. And people fight the truth daily because they don't want to be exposed. But on this show, entitled Disturbing the Peace, we will not buckle to those who pressure us to bow the knee. Thank you so much for tuning in to Disturbing the Peace today. Do me a big favor, like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Set your notifications so you know when I'm going live. Give me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify as well. And I say this all the time, and I'll say it again today. Let me know below in the comment section. Am I right or am I wrong? Am I weak or am I strong? God bless you, my friends, and God bless America. Take care.